What is up, everybody? Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. And as always, blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Here with my, I don't know if we call it partner in crime. I don't know if
No, no, we don't do crime. We don't
we
do
don't
crime.
do crime. All right,
No.
all right. My associate, my friend, my go-to,
Yes.
my B boy. You know, Roger Dundas, publisher of By Blacks. What's going on, Roger?
It's a good day. It's been a nice rainy day. Good for plants. Some people don't
Cool.
like it, but I love it.
You love your gardening?
I love my garden. Oh, yes, we do.
Absolutely. What week is it?
But it's oh my gosh. I think, I don't know. Somebody told me that it was Five Blacks Restaurant Week starting today.
Yes.
Going today, and going to all the way to Sunday, May the 22nd. Yeah, so actually 24 restaurants participated, four from Vancouver, five from Hamilton, and the rest of them I would say from the GTA. Nice selection of restaurants. We are trying to get to as much as possible this week. So that's what's up this week. Yeah, we're eating out,
Excellent. Yeah,
eating
man.
and ordering out.
Eating and ordering out, big time, big time. Well, you know what? Let's get right to it because we have two wonderful friends we're going to be sharing with us this evening. And I first want to introduce. I'm just call this. This is the webinar queen. And someone both Roger and I have known for many, many, many years. In fact, uh, I hadn't seen her for many years, and we were talking about getting together with Roger. And it was about a year or two ago. Roger
Yeah, it was
invited me
more
to
than that. It was before the pandemic.
before so about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah, that's
Roger and his
crazy.
Roger's dear wife Camille invited us over for evening out. I open up the door. I go, what is? And her sister was with. I go, my goodness, it was just like time just stood still. But this is a lady who is not making time stand still. She's making time work in a positive way, especially BIPOC women who want to get involved in the food space. Janice Bartley, what's going on?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for having me. Mr. Dundas, a pleasure to see you as always.
It's always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure. We
Thank you.
cannot see enough of you. I tell you, life is
Thank you.
too productive, as Ed would say.
Positive,
Thank you.
productive.
Positive and
Absolutely.
productive.
Absolutely. And I think he's here. He's in the back room. Andrew McBarnett, are you with us? If you take yourself out mute, you'll really be with us. There. Oh, hold on. There we
There you
go.
go.
Are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Excellent. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. How are you
Hi,
doing
how are you?
today?
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you.
Good.
A bit of an introduction, Andrew.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love for you to just tell the audience exactly who you are and what do you do.
Yeah. So, hey, Andrew. I'm from Neale's Sweet and Nice Ice Cream. We're a ice cream that's sold I guess, across Canada. We started a couple of years ago here in Canada, but prior story to that was my granddad started a similar company of a similar name, or the original company, I should say, back in Trinidad, selling Caribbean ice cream, mango and coconut. Did it for about 40 years before his passing. And then myself, my cousin, and my aunt, we started a company here back in 2013. Launched it in market in 2015. And we're going to talk about grocery stores. Got it in grocery stores in 2018. And yeah, we're across Canada today, so people can enjoy our ice cream in most provinces in Canada.
Awesome.
Wonderful. You know what? We have to give Janice her due too, because we got to get hear about Foodpreneur, because Foodpreneur is rocking it at shows. And so we got to hear about Foodpreneur. So Janice, let us share about Foodpreneur Labs.
Sure. Andrew, good to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in a long while.
I know, right?
And you know what? All four of us are gonna connect. All four of us
Yes.
Absolutely,
in real
absolutely,
life. In real life.
absolutely.
Yes.
So Foodpreneur Lab was created in 2019, and our mandate is to create access for Black food entrepreneurs, but more specifically also BIPOC food entrepreneurs looking to launch and scale products into the food market. We're about visibility and providing access and creating and redefining the narrative of Black food entrepreneurs and showing the industry our potential, our craft, and our innovative style that we can provide an experience to those seeking alternatives in the food sector.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Even I. Okay.
Okay. That's an introduction. Now that's an introduction.
Oh
Wow.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you two have seen each other recently. So it seems like we're miss. Where did you two last encounter each other?
I can safely say Andrew and I are good friends and colleagues.
Yeah.
We are very of similar mindsets, and I met Andrew pre-COVID. Was it 2019 when we sat in Panera Restaurant? 2018.
Yeah,
2018
I think
actually.
yeah,
In
2018, yeah.
2018,
Mhm.
Andrew I think he saw what I was doing with Foodpreneur Lab. Yeah, it was food. Yeah. And he reached out to me and we met for lunch. And the rest, as they say, is
It's
history.
history.
He had a vision and we shared some ideas and we said, hey, let's, as Jamaicans say, let's try a thing. And, and, you know, he, but on a more serious note, he's been a great ally and an advocate in the food space. So it's been an honor just working with him and getting to know him and his business model. So I have nothing but admiration for him.
And for the product, I gotta say.
Oh, listen, I should have shares in that because I've been touting that ice cream like I have ownership in it. Okay.
And I have to temper myself. I have to temper. I gotta say because if I go for that guava thing, I'll just eat the whole thing. The
Listen,
whole
man,
yeah.
I hear you. I'm
That's
not
why
even
that's why we
selling it.
made it in 500 mil
I know.
pack sizes.
He consulted me. You see, he consulted
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
It was my
I've
opinion he
been
needed.
yeah, I've been flagging that food product outside of our own community like there's no tomorrow because some people don't even know what guava is. It's like, oh, mango. I said, yeah, it comes in ice cream. You got to try it.
Yeah.
And the response has been absolutely positive.
And the rum
Can't
and
get enough of it.
raisin.
Absolutely.
And the rum and raisin.
Oh yeah,
And the
Anyway,
rum and
that's our
raisin.
so
favorite.
so
Yeah.
let's talk about this business. Well, one of the things I'm always curious about is what are some of the main challenges that you're seeing, Janice, affecting Black foodpreneurs? Let's start with that question.
One of the common ones are funding, finance, whichever way you want to put it. And I think that is just the nature of the beast with the sector. The food industry is expensive. There's no ifs, ands, or about that, and it doesn't matter if you're just coming in or you're trying to scale up. Um, the second thing is access to information, which is where am I going to make it? What equipment am I going to use to make it? Where can I get help to make it? And so that trickle down on information is not trickling down effectively enough. And so we've spoke to organizations who play an integral role in the sector, and we've said to them, hey, listen, the BIPOC community doesn't know you exist, and yet you're an integral part of that ecosystem. How can we fix that? So we make sure that they become a part, that the awareness is there. And not only that, we try and engage them to become part of the solution as well. And so information, um, production space, that's a whole different, kettle of fish as well. Um, I would have to say, and perhaps Andrew may agree or disagree with me. I think at every point in that journey, there are issues. There are
Hmm.
issues, and there are issues that have been around for over 2, 3 decades. So this is not something that's just come upon the scene because Black entrepreneurs are trying to get into the food space. We have a substantial problem within the food ecosystem, and it has to be reworked and redefined and remodeled as well. So it's
Mhm.
very antiquated. And what we where we find ourselves is that we're in a new way of we have a new way of delivery mechanisms, a new way of production, a new way of delivery, but we're using an antiquated system to try and fix a modern problem.
Wow.
So
Mhm.
I'll, yeah.
Wow.
A
Wow.
100% agree, Janice.
What do you say? So, I'm thinking about the black hooperness again. I'm thinking, so from your experience on working with the various participants in your program so far, what food products are doing the best? Like,
So if I had to categorize it, I would say health and wellness. That's one. Everybody's looking at foods that we refer to as functional foods. So they're healthy and they serve a purpose. Um, we still see the decadence of food that people want as well. That's predominantly for those that may have a little more discretionary income so that they can afford, because the reality of it is that's how food is kind of categorized as I see Andrew nodding his head as well, which is, there's certain food products that are in a specific price category that you're not going to find in the Walmarts of the world, right? So that is how it's positioned. But I would say the increase, well, food innovation and food product development on a whole is going to increase. Where are we seeing the trend that's going to increase is definitely health and wellness. So functional foods, innovative foods. We see a lot of plant-based stuff happening. Pay attention to that because that is expected to grow in the billions by 2032 or something ridiculous like that, and it's significant.
I tried some keto bars recently, zero sugar, and my kids are like, ugh, zero sugar, no. But I tried them, and they actually were not bad. They were not bad. So you're
Yeah.
talking about stuff like that, more along the lines of that health and
Less,
wellness trend.
yes, less sugar, less salt, less sodium, um, higher protein. If you look on most bars that are coming now, it's everything is protein, protein, protein,
Absolutely.
right? Low on the sugar. And so we see us pushing towards that. And it's really naturally occurring food products that are easily digestible, that have some health benefits, that's high on the protein spectrum, and the hope is that they will be affordable. In other words, and less processing, because the manufacturing of that product has a lot to do with that as well, and how
Absolutely.
it's manufactured.
Absolutely.
I just want to jump in quickly here. Divine, right, from the DMV in the US says, yes, plant based is not new as we know, but gaining more attention and sales are on the rise.
Very much so.
Absolutely. Very much so. Very much so. Hey, Andrew, you know what? You said something earlier that the company started in 2013, and then 2015 there was another um, critical milestone. But how long did it
Hmm.
take you from product ideation to
Hmm.
shelf?
Okay, so I would include shelf being independent stores because that's where we first started. But I think we were ideating about this probably in about 2010 or so in terms of
Mm,
thinking about it, and really thinking in terms of like bringing it to market. My background is not in the food space; it's more in terms of technology and
yeah,
commercial and strategy. And so coming into the food space was brand new to me. And So again, we had the idea. Obviously we had the recipes from my granddad, and taking that because to then convert it into something that would be mass manufactured um, takes a little bit of time. And then, like Janice was mentioning, access to the information was not there. Using my business background, I went out there and did research and that sort of thing, and found different people who would help us, including a food scientist company that would take our ice cream and then convert it into something that was still natural because our focus was keeping it as real as possible, but
mhm,
having it all natural because, as Janice mentioned, the trend at the time and now is natural products. You look at our ingredient list, something that you can actually read and that sort of thing. So it's pretty important in terms of making sure that we have all of that going. And so it took us a little bit of time to actually get there. Maybe maybe about 2 years or so in terms of research and development.
think, oh, I think we lost him for a second.
I think we lost him for a second.
Oh, well, I'm just going to put up another comment here from Divine Right saying, especially plant-based foods that actually taste good, meet dietary restrictions, and as stated, affordable. I'm seeing more on the shelves in various grocery stores here in the States.
And you know what I know about if it's real food, it has a very short expiry date. So that's something else too that to match the demand and supply, so that it doesn't expire and you're not losing money and having returns from the grocery stores. Sorry, Andrew, you were saying before you
Yeah,
got.
sorry, apologize. My son bumped in as as we're
Of
all
course,
used
of
to
course.
now.
I should
So
barricade my door because somebody might come in soon too.
I know, right? So yeah, I mean, it took us a little bit of time. We work with a food scientist company. Then I found out about another person called Dr. Goff, was a ice cream well known around the world in terms of ice cream research and creating ice cream. And he was at the University of Guelph, so we reached out to him. He got involved and helped us. So yeah, it took a little bit of time in terms of doing that sort of thing. Um, I was telling about me also reaching out to people in the industry as well. So I reached out to people at Chapman's, Ashley Chapman, for
Wow,
advice. I actually reached out to the owner at Kawathra Dairy for advice as well, and they gave me advice, right? And
wow,
so it was interesting in terms of getting that advice, knowing, getting a bit of understanding, and things out. So we started off with mango and coconut, and then got onto a couple of independent stores. I'll give shouts out to people like Charlie's in Mississauga and out in Scarborough that were the first ones to say yes to us.
Mhm.
And put us on the shelves and encouraging us and that sort of thing. So it took about 2 years to actually do that. And like Janice mentioned, co-packing, because we didn't have our own manufacturing facility. We had to find
right,
someone to manufacture
right.
for us, and that would manufacture a low level amount because we weren't going to we weren't manufacturing for big grocery chains. So we were
Yet.
able to manufacture, yeah. So we were able to manufacture maybe about, I don't know, 100 cases of each. We got someone who was willing and confident in us to do that sort of thing and give
Wow,
us a chance. After getting lots of no's from a lot of other people, they gave us a chance, and then we got in. We started off with them. They're not in business today, but they gave us our first few runs, as they would call it, in terms of production runs.
yeah,
And so we were able to get on the shelves. So it literally, that's why I mentioned 2015. It took us from you know probably 2013, 2012, 2013 to really ideate, get people together, do stuff. I remember our first packaging. We actually got a bunch of family members together, bought some white packaging and pasted the stuff on the outside, and then got it manufactured. So yeah, it takes a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and then we also had to self fund as well. Luckily we were able to do that in terms of an internal family round to fund it. But that's so it took a little bit of time. So it's not an easy journey. I mean, it's a little bit easier now. I wish Janice was around when I was trying to do this because I knew nothing about it, right?
I knew you were gonna say that. I knew you were gonna say that.
I want to jump in here, and I think this is good for both of you. So, Andrew, you said you launched with two products first. Why did you decide to launch with those two flavors? And also for Janice, for our viewers out there, what items, like what decision making process saying what items should I take to get to the market? So, Andrew, you've done
Mm.
it. Janice, you know about it. I'd like to get both yours input on that.
Yeah, maybe I can start first because what I again, what's critical is market research, and that's what I did. As I mentioned, it's not my first rodeo in business. I've done other things before,
Mhm.
but it allowed me to then, not put a full business plan together, which I did, but doing the market research. And when I was looking at the market research, I looked at the fact that at the time, ice cream sales were actually going down. Sales in yogurt was actually going up, so the healthy stuff was actually going up. So we made a decision, conscious decision, to be all natural, so that we can fit into that healthy category, even though we were still decadent. And then we also decided in terms of package sizing. We looked at where the sector was growing in the premium sector. So we decided to fit ourselves in that sector, which is why, people ask us, why is your packaging so small? But it's because we're in the premium sector of the market. And then we decided to go with two flavors that were at least well known in terms of mango, coconut, so that as we get into the market in terms of our community, but also outside of our community, people would actually try it because they know of, okay, I've heard of mango,
Oh, that's
okay, I've heard of
interesting.
coconut.
Mhm.
So that's how we ended up in terms of those two products. But then when we went into demos, we got a lot of Jamaicans asking us where our rum and raisin was, so we had to
I was about to say.
do
It is my favorite. I am biased. It is my
Yes,
favorite
that.
flavor,
yes.
and I buy.
It's,
That's the one I buy all the time. When I'm entertaining, I buy the rum and raisin. So
don't just can I get Janice's take on that
yes,
too, especially for the newer entrepreneurs who want to get in this food space? What decision making is needed to say this is the product I should be bringing to market?
So Andrew just gave a great example, and one of these things he noted, which I don't know if you're paying attention, is what is the why? What is the need, and is there a gap that you're filling? And he clearly identified he wanted a natural, no preservative ice cream. That's the why. And then he went and he was, like he says, do your market research. He looked at, what's the sizing? So what would make them stand out? And then after he did that, he looked at, what's the closest competition? Who's your competition, right? And that will kind of give you an idea of what's your price range and where you're going to fit within that range. So you have your $1.99, Chapman's bucket, and then you have the Decament premium brand, which is the exact term he used, your premium brand or product. So we now know where he is, and that is where they've decided to place themselves within that product line system. The other thing he mentioned, which is important, was, in terms of what makes you different is, and it goes to your question, Dr. Vibe, is what makes you decide which product to launch. He used familiarity. So he used the mango, something people are familiar with, as opposed to using something that's so innovative that people can't even wrap their minds around in how to use it. And so that makes the product relatable. And in making it relatable, it makes a willingness to try something different. Because we know what mango tastes like, but do we know what it's like when it's in ice cream? Because people like ice cream. And so
right.
when you merge those two, you have this product now that you can bring to market. And usually when you have two flavors in Andrew's case, is that you have more revenue. You don't just have one product where at least you run out. You have another alternative going. So they're playing. Also, interestingly enough, it creates the conversation, like he said, where's the rum and raisin? And that's what happens, right? And so one of the beautiful things about tastings when you go out, people think, as the agro food producer, you're just there to say, oh, here, sample, or I should say samplings. Oh, sample this. Actually, no. Sampling is your survey on your product. Okay, it allows you to engage when they're sampling. Hey, I like this, what do you think? And as always, especially with us Jamaicans, we'll say, if you just throw a little hot pepper on this, this would be fantastic. We're always looking to one up. Okay. But jokingly aside, that is the engagement, right? And that is where ideas are created. It's that feedback, which, by the way, if you had to pay for that, it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And so that is what connects you to your consumer today, your potential consumer, and your future consumer. So that time, that engagement is not wasted.
No, that's awesome. So,
Yep,
so just
100%.
to, just to come back to the question about the timeline. So you're looking at about, in your case, it took you about 2 years to get on the shelf. All the activities that from the moment that you actually produce got the product in the container with all the requisite information, legal information that you needed on it in
Hmm.
terms of
Yeah.
product labeling and everything. 2 years to get the shelf. So, if we look at that, Janice, would that be a benchmark? Just for the benefit of people who are thinking of creating a product. I don't want them to think that, hey, I have this product, I'm going to build it today, and then in 3 months' time, I'm on the shelf.
That's
Right?
a very good question. So here's the interesting part. The ideation is where most of the time spent. So I'm sure, and Andrew, I'm sure can attest to this, is his first version of the ice cream is not the version that's on the shelf today. There are
That's
iterations,
true.
I should say, not ideation, iterations, which is he probably went through 100 different versions of that ice cream before they got to the one that's on the shelf. And that is where it's most time consuming
Hmm.
because when you want something that's all natural, then you have to pay attention to the ingredients. Then you have to pay attention to the shelf life. Then you have to talk about, okay, how can I extend the shelf life? And if you extend the shelf life, then the turnover rate of sales is going to be delayed depending on the product. So all things are factored into this equation before you package it, put the label on, and get it on a shelf.
Yep,
So
Janice is right. It took us probably about a year to go over and just two flavors to make sure it
that's right.
actually one tasted
Wow.
good and
Yeah.
tasted to the product, but also had the right ingredients in it as well.
Yeah. And not only right ingredients, but what people don't realize is consistency, texture, flavor, coloring, all those have to
Oh,
have check marks before you even put it in there. Because I don't know if some of you have ever noticed, if you go into a grocery store, sometimes you can see separation from food where there's water and the settling. That
mhm.
is too much water. That is too much water activity level in that product. And
Mhm.
so that is not appealing to a customer. So
That's
you
true.
don't want to be opening Neil's ice cream and seeing something floating on the top. And they say, oh, just mix quickly and then
Mhm.
serve, right?
That never happens with our ice cream, by the way.
Okay.
Exactly, exactly. So this is where that time is spent. So when Roger, you say to me, is 2 years a benchmark? There is, to be honest, there is really not a benchmark. What you're making sure is that the quality of the product meets the standard of your brand. That's the benchmark. When you hit that, that's the benchmark.
That's a
So if it
benchmark.
takes a year, 2 years, or 3 years, because I always tell clients, once you put it out there, you can't come back and fix the problem because that is the impression you've left with your consumer.
Ouch.
So
You know
do
what's
it well.
interesting about
Yeah, do
the
it
choice
well
of
and do it once.
what's interesting about the choice of mango and coconut is that in Japanese and Chinese restaurants, that those are two of the most popular flavors that they would
Yes.
offer up, aside from green tea.
Yep.
Right.
So
And
it would
we
be
and we and
coconut
we
or
and we
mango and
st-
then green tea as a
and
first dialogue.
we started actually in terms of independent stores selling into a lot of Chinese
There you go.
supermarkets
Mhm.
as well.
Yeah.
Gave us a chance as well too. So yeah, it definitely helped as well. And just to add to what Janice was saying, that's why we use a food scientist company because we needed. It was great, like with Auntie Rose, she knows the recipe like the back of her hand, right? But to convert that into something that will be consistently manufactured, where we can call our co-packer and say, manufacture mango, and we know it's going to be consistent, you need to have a recipe that can actually be used in that way, basically.
That's it. So
So,
Andrew, I have a question. I want to move over a little bit into the marketing side. So, you have the
Sure.
product and then you start to figure out, okay, how do I market this and get it out there? And we did a whole session yesterday on marketing restaurants specifically. But what I found interesting about your approach is throughout your marketing journey, you took a path that's normally not taken by Black foodpreneurs. You went on Dragon's Den, was it?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Let's talk about that. Tell me about that experience of who was the person in your camp that said, "Hey, why don't we do this? And what? Tell us about the whole experience.
Yeah, sure. It was a joint decision between my cousin Stafford and myself. And at the time we were still in independent stores. We thought we had a great product. We thought also that we have a great family story behind the product as well, would resonate with people. And so we thought that going on to Dragon's Den, um, we would one get a deal because we believed in our product, and secondly, it would help in terms of brand awareness. So we went ahead and did it. And when we went into the producers, they loved the product, they loved the idea and the story behind the product, and agreed with us and thought that would resonate really well. So we did it. On the actual show itself, it was petrifying to say the least, in terms of standing in front of the dragons and getting blasted. Because when you see it, you see the good parts. You don't see the difficult parts in terms of us answering really tough questions, right? But in the end, on the show, we were able to get a deal, and it didn't work out after the show. And it gave us the impetus to say, hey, there's something here. If we can have three business people come to us and say, hey, they want to invest, they want to work with us, they love the product, we have something. And we knew we had something, but it definitely confirmed even more. And then, like I mentioned, it didn't work out, and we pursued things in the end. And it's funny that today we now have a dragon in the camp, basically, in terms of helping
Yeah.
us.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Very nice.
So there's some questions from the audience.
Yeah, they're pouring in, so want to do some catch up because we don't want to leave them behind. I think this first question both of you can answer. There's also a lot of questions about ice cream, uh, for some strange reason. But the
Yeah.
first one here from Ray from the group for Andrew: how does using a third party production facility affect product margins? So I think definitely Andrew, I'd like your input, but also Janice can give input on that one also. So Andrew, go ahead.
hmm Yeah, I think for us, I think if you're looking at a third party production, or co-packer as it's called, you need to definitely look at your margins. There's a couple of ways that you can go about it. One is that you're sourcing all the materials yourself, which is a task that you can do, but it takes time, and effort. Or you can find a really good co-packer that understands your product, fits in terms of your ecosystem, and then they can source the product for you or source the raw materials for you in terms of being guided by you. So it's difficult in terms of obviously coming out the gate and setting up your own manufacturing plant. Some people do it, are able to do it. It's very costly. So, but you've got to, well, me, I've learned a lot in terms of pricing, pricing badly sometimes in terms of internally, figuring that out, because you've got to look at things like co-packing, you've got to look at things like wastage, you've got to look at things like, what you just spoke about there, Roger, in terms of marketing, because when you get onto the shelves, that's just the first part. The hard part begins in terms of marketing it, and marketing it with the grocery stores, because they demand their pound of flesh, in terms of how you market things, and the cost of marketing. So when you're building your pricing strategy, again, depending on your cost, then you're putting in your different levels of margins, and you want to always make sure and protect your base margin, but you're adding on top of that to make sure that you can actually sell into the stores. And of course, if you're using a distribution company, then you got to think about that too.
Janice, anything you want to add on to that?
Um, yeah, so to Andrew's point, finding a co-packer is like finding a life partner. Be very careful. Um, you can get into agreements that are not in your best interest. You may find co-packers that say they can't deliver and they can't. This is quite a common problem that a lot of food producers um, come across. The other thing I want to mention as well is if you're looking at a third party facility, that could also be production. That doesn't necessarily, it's just limited to a co-packer as well. So a third party could also be a commercial kitchen. And yes, that is going to eat into your margins, because then you have to pay for that extra space. And there are smart ways to do that. Watch how, when you plan your production, make sure you have your people ready, and have it scheduled. It requires efficient planning. So yeah, to answer that question, yes, it will eat into your margin. Depends on which end you are, if it's on the production side or if it's on the co-packing side.
Okay, gonna give some pretty quick answer questions for Andrew because people want their ice cream. So first question, quick answer. Question about the ice cream. Do you have dairy-free options for people who are lactose intolerant or have to eat dairy-free?
No, we don't, not as yet, but it's in the works.
All right.
Perfect.
Next up, not sure if this question was asked already. Is your product sold around the world or only North America?
Currently only in North America, but we have ambitions to dominate the world with our ice cream.
Very nice. And also then with rum and raisin ice cream product being top commodity potentially, how do you let your customers know that the other ice cream flavors are great as well?
Wow, good question.
Yeah, good question. I think our rum and raisin is number one, but it's I guess become number one in terms of people enjoying and tasting it. But we promote our other ice creams SKUs as well. So if you look at things like our Instagram or our TikTok, we rotate quite well in terms of our product. And people have I mean, for me, I've got, on a different day I enjoy different flavors. So people are partial to different ones. And it's funny that while rum and raisin is top in different Canadian cities, our ice cream flavors are top. Out west is mango and coconut.
Oh,
So basically, here in Toronto, it's definitely rum and raisin, and there's a battle in terms of guava and rum and raisin in Quebec, for example, basically.
all right. And before we get back to the major, Divine Right says, LOL, hot pepper on stuff. So I think Janice, Janice, just kicking on Janice's conversation piece. Roger, I'll give it back to you. There's another question, but I think we're
Yeah,
gonna
no,
get
no,
down to.
come on into the questions. I'm loving the questions. I
Okay, so
gotta
Ray,
say.
we're going to get to this eventually, but well, let's do it now. Ray's asking, what is the relationship with major retailers once you get your product on shelf? Is it an amicable relationship? Do you get a say in the product placement for visibility, etc.? Janice's face is I'm
You gotta
waiting to
pay
hear
to
both.
play.
We
I'm
got to
gonna
hear
pass.
both.
I'm gonna pass that over to Andrew.
Out of the way, out of the way, out of the
Out of
way.
way, out of way.
Yeah, that's why I'm smiling. Over to you, Andrew.
Over to you.
Who's on this chat? Okay, so
Exactly.
just making sure here. Hopefully, this isn't being taped. So, generally, I would say the relationship is amicable. So far we found, surprisingly, that a lot of the big chains, they've got some great voluntarily who are very supportive in terms of the product. That's why they selected it in the first place. Of course, like I mentioned, once you get on the shelves, you've got to be able to manage getting off the shelves as well, because again, you're looking at your own sales data. They're looking at data too in terms of turns, how popular the product is, etc., to keep you on the shelf, because of course they're looking at making revenue, and so are you. So basically, it's generally amicable, but I would say that you've got to fight for your things like placements and that sort of thing, and again, if you're thinking about going with the large guys, you've also got to think about budgets. At some point in time, you may have to bring, other financing on board, etc. So a good example is if you went into a superstore today or a no frills today, you can earn optimum points buying sweet and nice, right? But going into that program costs money, and so basically you got to be able to think about things like that. But it is an incentive for people to say, oh, I can buy, when we have deals on two sweet and nice ice creams, and I get, I don't know, 1,000 points or whatever it is that the campaign is. So you got to always keep thinking about that. And be able to manage all of that. And then again, back to the original question, it impacts your margins as well.
can you expand a little bit on the so amicable? Might be a harsh word, but there is this inbuilt system of promotion in the grocery stores where you have to give that trade spend, right? So
You have to.
right. So there's trade spend just to get you in the flyer. There's trade spend to get you end cap or top
Yep.
shelf or whatever. Can you
Mm.
explain, like, to some people may not understand that that's actually the relationship. When I said you have to pay to play, wherever you are in that grocery store, you have paid to
Mhm.
be in that
Oh
location.
yeah, definitely. So so yeah. I mean, when you're going into the big leagues, as it were, you got to be prepared to be in the big leagues and act like some of the big guys. Like some people may think we're as big as Nestle, right? In terms of the stuff that we do, but we're not. But we've got to play within that league. So things like shelf placement, you've got to pay for that. Sometimes like us getting into, let's say a good example is IG in Quebec. We're just launching in that right now. We've had to pay for planogram placements. You pay
Mhm.
a listing for your product and you pay per SKU, not just one thing per SKU. So if you get 6 SKUs in, you pay a certain amount, right? And then you've got to manage that in terms of your ROI and making that back over the year. So things like that. Then you've also got to pay for things like you mentioned, flyer placements. I mentioned Optimum, and things like that, digital versus physical flyers. Most people are going away from physical flyers today.
Mhm.
So within your marketing budget, it's interesting within the food space because you're dealing within the, let's call it, physical world, where people are going in. You got to pay for things like that. Other things would be, paying for things like coupons, redemptions. So whether it's digital coupons or coupons at the shelf, then you do that. The other way you pay for it as well is basically when you go on sale. So basically, when you walk into a store and you see, 50 cents off or $1 off, you're paying for that, and you're paying for that in terms of sometimes depending on distribution and that sort of thing. Um, Distributors like to keep their cost the same, so you're giving a discount to the grocery store, but you're paying the distributor a feature fee because they don't want to lose margins. So it's really a push pull scenario all the time, and you've got to be wise in terms of how often you're on sale, and or not, or seasonality. Like with us, we would go on sale mainly in the summertime. Other times in the year, would probably be on sale once or twice a year, or blend it in terms of
Yeah.
different types of approaches. So it's pretty of the food space, how you've got to play with the vendors from a cost perspective. Um, Once you gotten the yes and the exuberance of getting a yes from a from a grocery store, then you now have to start thinking about how much is this going to cost me? What's the ROI? Do you walk away from it as well if it's not going to work for you? So things like
So, what's also interesting is, I don't know if you noticed, but I worked at Smuckers doing auditing for 3 years. So I
that.
had a very good understanding of what the monetary side of things was. The other side of the equation is their payment terms. So I know
Yeah.
that people like Walmart have very long payment terms, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So on top of them taking back that trade spend dollar, meaning that he Andrew wants 250, and they're saying, okay, well, we're gonna cut 50 cents off and then take you 120 days to pay you.
Mm, yes,
It's
you
yeah.
gotta bear all of that in mind. So I mean, it's gotten a little bit better. I would probably say,
Mhm.
in terms of the turnaround times, in terms of payments. But then you also have to take that into account as well. I mean, when we start off, I won't call name, but basically, you had to incorporate a discount on payment, so that you could get paid faster. So 2% would give you, your money in 30 days, or 45 days. 5% we give you your money in 25 days. So you gotta also balance that as well, right? So things like that you've got to take into account. So when it comes to, again, your pricing strategy, it's really critical to understand what your cost of good is, and then you're adding all your other elements on top of that to make sure that margin, your base margin, is always there and doesn't get eaten into, because that's the margin you're going to use to grow your company.
Janice, Janice, anything you want to add?
Um, I think to Andrew's point, it has become a lot better within the industry. The fact that they've implemented a grocery code of conduct, I think, says a lot. I won't delve too much into that, but if somebody likes to have some light reading, there is a report, and I think the heading says it all, and it's called "Rigged." Supermarket shelves for sale, which was conducted in 2016. And I think if you read that, it really will give you some insight in terms of how things used to be operated, exactly from Andrew's point, from a dollar and cents value, and how difficult it was for a producer to play in that in that space, and how it's now changed for the better, because now regulations have been put in, and so to make sure there's a balance of power. So you know, the supermarket game is a very tenuous one at best, right? And that is just them competing with each other. Step outside of that, then as a producer, how do you navigate that? Because it's not that simple. And to Andrew's point, a lot of food entrepreneurs get in this game and they hear about listing fees, $25,000 a SKU, huh? Like, you mean you mean they don't just clear the shelf and put you on there? No. What's a planogram? How does that work? You know? And so these are the surprises, and I should say the financial surprises that will stop you dead in your tracks from getting to the next level.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Question. There is a question here for you, Janice. Well, I guess two. First of all, is your organization not for profit or for profit?
We're a non-for-profit.
Next question. Do you have exclusive MAP, marketing, advertising, and promotional agencies that you work with that can assist your clients with their brand strategy or brand DNA?
Yes, we can do that. And one of the things that we talk about is we meet the clients where they are at. So once you can identify what your brand is about, what you want it to look like, and where you want to take your business, then we match you with a mentor that can speak to that, because not everybody is going to know about brand DNA and mapping. So again, and that could be at a higher scale as well, because you start off with branding, and branding can be as generic as, hey, I have an ice cream and this is what it does. The question becomes is, how deep into that branding, what is the end goal? And if the end goal is what you're talking about, DNA, then be prepared to pay for that expertise. That's also something I want to speak about, because guess what? You get what you pay for. So if you're going to pay $300 for somebody to do branding, you ain't going to get any DNA. You may get the D, but there's no NA coming with that. Okay. So let me keep it
Knowledge
real.
bomb.
Okay?
Go,
So
boy.
if you want the
Andrew
DNA,
loved it.
Maybe half of the
exactly. And yeah, the lowercase d, not even the capital, okay? It's gonna be the lowercase d. So if you want that specialized expertise, then be prepared to make the investment, because I keep saying to people, you're not investing in the product, you're investing in yourself. You are the product, you are the brand, even though you may put a name on it. And so if you want something as that specific, then yes, that can be delivered, but be prepared to make the investment to that commitment.
All right.
Hey, Andrew, question. Do you
yes,
still supply the Caribbean grocery stores?
we do still supply the Caribbean grocery stores. Yes,
Yes, yes, yes. Right. You know what?
yes, we do.
I remember, again, a little trivia. There's a little store down in Picton called Slickers, ice cream store. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No.
It's in Prince Edward County, so it's a destination. You go there and there's a lineup. They have two stores right now, one in Main Street and one in Wellington. And believe it or not, I met the owner, and he wanted to get out of the business, and he offered me the business, and I was not in a position. I was not in a position to take advantage of it in 2017.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
still I'll tell you, it's lineups. If you go to the store, it's typically lineup. So, but the question more is, so you have brands like Quathar ice cream, Quathar. Did I pronounce it right? Right.
Yeah,
So they
co-author. Yeah.
dominate, I find, in the cottage area
Hmm.
more than in what I would consider more built up areas. Is
Yes.
there a strategy for Sweet and Nice to do a similar thing?
Well, I mean, back in 2020, we had a a pop-up retail store, and that gave us the experience in terms of retail. So that was a really good experience. We had, maybe not as lineups there, but we had similar lineups. It was more experience driven as well because it was at the beginning of the or middle, just at the start of the pandemic,
Yeah.
and we built our brand in terms of doing demos, so we can do that. So we then did the store. So that gave us a lot of in terms of retail, knowing what people wanted, how to go about it. So you never know in terms of going forward whether or not we're going to also venture into that area as well in terms of retail too. But right now, our focus is definitely on the grocery side of things.
No, no, I was more thinking of the Quathas. The brand ice cream is in smaller stores that are not owned by them, but the
Right.
stores are carrying them exclusively.
Oh, you
So I
mean in
don't
terms
know.
of some of the scoop
Right,
shops you're talking? Oh, okay,
right,
yes, yes.
right.
Okay, yes, we do have we are looking at that, and that would be what I would class under food service.
Right.
So basically, our focus has been on grocery retail, but we are looking at more food service as a different channel of distribution as well. So
But you
that would
did
incorporate both of those guys as well as the a lot more of the restaurants as well too.
you did bring up a good question because I was going to ask the question of whether you wanted to go with the independent store model as well. So you'd have your boutique stores. So it could be an experience. You get in there, and yes, you have the sweet and nice ice cream, but then you have this immersive Caribbean experience as well too.
Yeah, it's something we're looking at for sure.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
I just want to interrupt for a second. Janice mentioned a great resource, rigged supermarket shelves for sale. That is the YouTube link, or if you just go into YouTube and plug in rigged supermarket shelves for sales, if she's recommending it, I think
You
even if
gotta
you're
watch
not,
it.
you gotta watch. Even if you're not in the food industry, I think there's lessons to be learned from
Absolutely.
from that. So just wanted to put that resource up. And Janice, thanks for mentioning it. I really appreciate it. We've got some more. Why do you think there's so more questions? Ray's asking, and again, this I think can be. I think it was asked for Andrew, but I think also Janice can chime in on it. With ethnic foods gaining popularity in major grocery chains now, do you think this has helped with the success of your product and the converged conversation with big chains? So I think he's asking that too, but also I think Janice can give her lens about ethnic foods becoming more and more on the shelves of big chains. So Andrew, go ahead first.
Yeah, I think parts of our market research we looked at that as well, and we knew that was gaining popularity, especially with Canadians pre-pandemic and now traveling a lot. You have a lot of Canadians that travel to the Caribbean, enjoying it, whether it's Mexico, Cuba, here, there, Jamaica, that sort of thing. So we looked at that. Now on the flip, so that's the consumer perspective, right? So we fit well within that growth sector. When you come into the grocery side of things, I would say you've got to be careful in terms of where you tread, because what you don't want to do is be pigeonholed into a particular area, and therefore you're not in the ice cream section, but you're near the ravioli or whatever it is, or somewhere else, or the frozen garlic, right? So basically, you got to really be careful in terms of. So the way that we've done it is that we balance it in terms of, hey, when we're speaking to a major chain, yes, we're ice cream, we happen to be Caribbean, people are loving it, blah blah. You want to grow it. A lot of people look at the fact of, you know, major population growth in terms of the GTA and elsewhere. And so it fits within that segment, but we don't hold ourselves in that segment at all. So you got to be able to balance it, or you could find yourself stuck. So that's how I would probably put that basically.
Janice would like to add on to that.
Absolutely, she
Sure. If you could repost the question.
Okay, no problem. Here's a question. With ethnic foods gaining popularity in major grocery chains now, do you think that this has helped with your success of your product and the conversation with the big chains? So, with you dealing with a specialized community and having specialized foods, what reaction are the chains from your lens giving with that? For those who want to get in there, what are they receptive?
Yes, they are very receptive once they have an understanding of what to do with it. I want to put that out there because,
Good.
there are some great foods out there that are ethnic, and the problem is people want to try it, but they don't know how to use it. And we see that happen time and time again. And this is why Instagram is such a great platform, because what does Instagram usually promote? Food. That Instagram is the place for food. You if you're launching something new, if you're trying something new, if you're demoing something new, if you're cooking something new, because people want to be more informed. To Andrew's point, the reason why people are so open and welcoming to, or I should say consumers are, is that food is an experience. It's now a global experience. So to Andrew's point, when I go to Mexico, I want to be able to come home and I want to be able to recreate that experience in my kitchen with my family, because that has created a memory. And so as we travel globally, so does the food experience, especially with COVID. And we don't want mashed potatoes and steak anymore. We decided, okay, we are going to venture out. So I've seen videos of other communities cooking curry goat, which was unheard of before. But hey, they heard, oh, if you put it in a pressure cooker and you do this and you season it. And so we're a lot more open to trying these new experiences, or we're trying to recapture previous traveling experiences. So yes, the grocery stores, and not only grocery stores, the craft food stores are who have been number one actually in welcoming diverse foods, have always had their door opens to create that experience.
So, Janice, just for all of us, what is a craft food store?
So a craft food store is somewhere that, and I'll use this one as an example, but now you can get it in the local grocery store. So if you wanted grapeseed oil, something that's a little bit off the beaten path, it has some decadence to it. It's a little bit unfamiliar. Okay, if you're a foodie, you go to a you go to a craft store, which is, if you want that special seasoning because you have a special cookbook and it requires something that's not the norm. But now pretty much everybody's a foodie. I would say 98% of people are foodies. Some may not know it, but they are. And here is why. We are now more educated in terms of our food ecosystem than we've ever been. We want to know where it's grown, how it's grown, who's growing it, where they're growing it. Is part of the money going back to a cause? Is it an SDG, Sustainable Development Group, one of the 17? So there are times, and I keep talking about this, we want food accountability. Whether it's us or whether it's the millennials behind us, there is food accountability. There's now food ecosystems. There is now food upcycling, where we are now pushing towards a zero waste food environment, which is amazing, but it will require a change in behavior. So to go back to your original question, yes, stores, whether craft or retail, they are very receptive to new food ideas because they are actually food experiences. Those products are food experiences.
Okay. Divine Right says she loved the D in the DNA, and more that's we gotta set that as a clip. That clip right there, we need to put that out. And Janice, so yeah, more job saying you just made my day. You right.
So Janice, I know you're a big advocate for normalization of food in grocery stores. Can you just expound on that a little bit for the audience and just explain why you think it's important as well too?
Okay, so when you go into a grocery store, traditionally what's been happening, and we've been conditioned to behave this way. I want to preface this statement before I say what I say, which is if I want coconut milk, I go into the ethnic aisle. If I want hot pepper sauce, I go into the ethnic aisle. But if I want pasta, I go into the pasta aisle. So there's a problem there. What makes one what defines an ethnic food? Because the last time I checked, pasta was pasta. I didn't see pasta as Italian food per se. And so we've been conditioned that way, which is what I call food segregation. You like it or not, it is what it is. I'm just telling you what we see when we go down the aisle.
Mhm. Mhm.
What has happened, and the reality of where we are today, because we have evolved, is that we no longer want to see these food ethnic aisles, because the question becomes, what's the message that we're sending to our future generations as well? And from a producer lens, we all want to compete on a level playing field. I've never heard somebody say, to Andrew's point, well, I want to be in the freezer where the garlic is separated from the ice cream, even though I'm an ice cream. No. What we want is, we want balance and we want fair competition. So if I want a sauce, send me down the sauce aisle. Let me look at what's available. L-
Mhm.
Let me get ideas. Let me innovate, not you dictate to me if I'm going to go down aisle 11 for all the Caribbean spices. And then I'm going to circle back up to the Mexican aisle, or, I'm going to go aisle 2 aisles over if I want different beans, or if I'm going to go into and that's another thing too. The health section has to be normalized. We're all looking for healthy food. So I think we have to look at, and I think this is what's going to happen. You're going to see an overflow of, the health sections, like, in Loblaws. You're going to see those overtaking more, because guess what? Where are all these plant-based products going? In an aisle near you. That's where it's going. Okay. So you're going to see a shift, and
Well,
and that is the truth.
and we've spoken about this before. So 2 points I want to make. The first point is that a lot of people, I've heard people say this in the store. Think about this. They see the international aisle, ethnic aisle, whatever you want to call it. And they're like, oh, it's spicy food down there.
Mm.
So that's
Exactly.
the first one. It's spicy food. So they just don't even go there. So that's
No,
a
they
whole
don't.
elimination of an audience. But the second point, that what I've seen in President's Choice stores is that they actually have the blue label. So they'll put the two products side by side, but the blue label is the healthy one, and the other color, whatever it is well, not unhealthy, but not healthy, not as healthy. Let's put it that way.
Right.
So they can do it. There are ways to do it without segregate the food segregation. And I was pleased to see Janice, that I was coming on the pop aisle, and I actually saw a Grace product alongside regular. Well, you see,
Yes.
even I'm
Yes.
using the word regular,
Yes.
just the North American brands, I should say. And that was
Normalized.
a pleasant sight.
Yes, it's the
Pleasant, very pleasant.
normalization of, yes, the normalization of a food product, which, and
Yeah,
rightly so, it should be.
yeah.
And so I think as we see more products coming out, you're going to see that. Now we see a line of different pestos, right? We don't see that in the ethnic aisle or the international aisle. And we see that right beside the spices out of India. So you see the shift happening, and I'm glad it's happening, because I just it eliminates an experience if you don't know how to use something. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
All right.
Mm.
Point here, Ray. Should be a great point, Janice. That way our route through the grocery store isn't predetermined and now becomes more random, and we are exposed to different type of foods and
Absolutely right.
products. Hashtag
Yeah.
abolish food segregation. Maybe that's a new hashtag for you, Janice.
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah,
yes,
right. Abolish
I
food
love it.
yes. I
you
love it,
know.
Ray.
Um, uh, Divine Right, I have to chime off. This is a fantastic show. Looking forward to that diet-free ice cream in the future.
Very.
Remember, we'll be taste testers. So you have two people in the DMV in the States who want to be taste testers.
That's great.
Andrew, I have tried your guava ice cream and seen you on Dragon's Den TV appearance. Your product is incredible. Andrew, will more emphasis on marketing be part of the business plan coming soon?
Yep, definitely. I mean, we try to keep up to speed in terms of again, Instagram, TikTok, that sort of thing. Events are back and people are getting out. Then we're going to be focused a lot more on that this summer as well, in terms of creating that brand awareness. But we've done a lot in terms of I think back to Janice's DNA comment on branding. It takes a lot to create brand awareness. I mean, we've spent quite a lot of money, which is why we have investors on board, because we needed to. We rebranded our packaging. We spent a lot in terms of PR, and getting out there and doing different things. So yeah, definitely marketing is always a core part of what we do, and we definitely want to do more.
Here's I Here's another one for both you. Probably you can answer, chime in. What is the process like to bring a food product into Canada and on shelves from another country? For example, the Caribbean or African con- continent.
Yeah, I think for me, just being in the ice cream space, obviously you're crossing borders and that sort of thing. So the thing that you have to look at is are the import duties, right? And if there are any legal requirements, like for example, we love our ice cream to be down in the US. We can't ship our ice cream to the US because of the US dairy farmers, right? And rightly so. We wouldn't want another company coming into Canada because our strong belief is we're supporting Canadian dairy farmers. That's why we have their logo on our product. So I think the challenge is always going to have to be you got to look at what the I guess the federal requirements are in terms of here getting it in, and what the cost implications are as well in terms of the import cost implications. So I'll hand over to Janice.
Um, so with regard to that, Andrew made a very valid point, which the federal regulation. So the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is the agency that monitors and decides what things you can import to Canada or you can't. So I'll give you an example. There is a product called allulose that is available in the US that works very similar to glucose, which is a sugar substitute, but it's not authorized for use in Canada. And actually, it may be authorized in the last 2 months, but a year ago it wasn't. And so it had all the qualities of sugar, except it was lighter, lower calories, similar to glucose, extremely effective, but was not approved by Canadian Food Inspection Agency. And so an application had to be put in to get that authorized. So these are the things that you have to look at. It's not just about, hey, I want to import this product. You have to make sure A, it's recognized, and B, if it's not, then what are the requirements, and do the paperwork accordingly. And to Andrew's point, the import fees, because there is duty that you're going to have to pay on that. There's a price to play with products that you bring in
Absolutely.
or import, I should say.
Sure. Well, I think, family, we are right done. You guys have been dropping knowledge bombs for the last little bit. I just want to say, well, both Roger and myself want to say, wow, actually, there's one more question. More jobs is in the house. What's next for your brands, Andrew and Janice? Also, room for collaboration between the both of you.
Andrew, over to you.
That's that last bit is pretty interesting. So yeah, I would say that I would say that our brand, there's a couple of things that we've been working on. People mentioned vegan, plant-based, so we're definitely in the middle of our research and development around that. We're looking at and we brought a thing like some of you may have seen stuff on our website like baked goods. So we're expanding our dessert line, and definitely looking to grow a lot more across Canada. That's the main thing. And we are looking south of the border as well, and doing our research on that, because of course, in certain places it's summer all year round. And eventually, hopefully, we'll be back in the Caribbean. So that's what we're looking at. I'll leave the last bit for Janice to talk about. Through the hot potato.
Hey, listen. Yes, they're Andrew and I are always in talk. Yes, Andrew and I are always in talk. We are working on something to be announced later, which will be of benefit for anyone looking to come into the food sector. I think between both of us, we have a lot of experience, information, and education and insights to offer the industry. And that is what Foodpreneur Lab and its partners are about. It is bringing those experiences, sharing it with future foodpreneurs, and making sure that we create a community that is supportive, innovative, and provides experiences for people wanting to play in the space.
Wonderful. Last few comments. Ray saying, great conversation, great insight. Thank you for sharing all your experience and knowledge. More jobs, Roger and Vibe. Well done. Remember, just put Roger first. So we're just going to give contact information for Foodpreneur Lab. There it is up on the screen if you want to find out more information. And you have a new cohort starting soon, do you know?
Yes, I was just about to ask that. When does the next cohort start?
So we had a cohort in April 4th of this year. That's cohort 2. Our next cohort is 2023 of April. And we had 50 participants come on board. And I want to give a shout out to the participants at Foodpreneur Lab that participated in the Restaurants Canada show. It was a huge success. We had representation as exhibitors, which was great. They were welcomed, and the participants were enthusiastic to have access from business to business, which has never been done before under a non-for-profit lens. So it was an amazing opportunity. And I was just grateful to be offered to create that opportunity, because listen, everybody, there is room for us out there. The table is waiting for us to come and take our rightful seats.
Yeah,
Wonderful. Final words, Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this conversation, that's for sure. And I'm always learning from Janice. So I think for me, like Janice just said, there's a lot of room. I want to see a lot more of us at the table and on the shelves. And the normalization side of things definitely has to occur. So yeah, I'll definitely encourage you guys who want to get involved. Look to us if you reach out to me as well, just to find out, how to do things in terms of scaling and that sort of thing, and the challenges. I'm more than willing to lend an ear and to give some quick feedback.
And just so that people know, can you just remind us what grocery chains people can go and purchase, and even the smaller Caribbean stores?
Yeah, you've got a lot of small Caribbean stores in the GTA. I can't name all of them. I mentioned Charlie's before.
Just Convenience in Whitby.
Just Convenience in Whitby
Yes.
as well. And then the larger stores would include things like Sobeys, Fresco, Loblaws, No Frills. We just launched an IGA in Quebec. I think I mentioned Fresco, Metro as well. And if you're out west, we're also in Edmonton and Alberta, and in Federated Co-op as well in Saskatchewan.
Lovely. Is there any possibility? Not possibility. Sorry, let me remove that word. Is there any goal to get into Costco?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yeah, there is.
All right.
All right. That's all I want to know.
Okay.
And is that by the tub, Andrew?
You gotta buy a pack. You gotta buy a multi-pack. 6, you gotta buy all flavors, one price. Bam.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Janice, Andrew, thank you so much for all you have done, are doing, and will be doing for us, and taking the time. And we will certainly catch up to you soon. Family, reach out to them. They have a valued experience. They want more of us at their
This is like
tables with them. So if
this
they
is
can
like
do
the
it,
Oprah of the food
yes.
business, Janice. Oh
All
yeah.
right. Blessings to both of you. Thank you for your time.
Thank
Keep the
you.
faith.
Thank you,
All
everybody. Our
right. Take
pleasure.
care.
Good to see
Have
you
a good
all. Bye
night.
bye.
Take care.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. All right, Mr. Roger.
Yes, sir. Buy Black
Another one.
Restaurant Week. This
There
week,
you go.
May. Today, it starts today. But here's the funny thing. A lot of restaurants do not open on Mondays or Tuesdays in
Yeah, I've
my
noticed
community.
that. I've
Yeah.
noticed that.
So even our restaurant here that's participating in Whitby, Just Convenience, they closed on Sunday. Fan Bar, Sugarcane, Buchan, not open today.
Yeah, they're not on
Right?
Monday. That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
Fan Bar is open tomorrow. Guys, go and try their prefix special. Chef Lloyd has a amazing meal there. Then there's Sugarcane opens on Wednesday.
Yep.
Buchan, they told we want to go to Buchan tomorrow. They're not open till Wednesday. So a lot of restaurants, that's their stilo.
Actually, I'm just going to put a plug in for sugarcane. I had a lady and her family who are based in Maryland who are actively looking to move to the GTA within the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And they were up here, and I met them, and they were staying downtown. I said, "Man, where can I get some really good food?" I recommended Sugarcane. They are huge fans. They're coming back in August.
Yeah.
First place they're hitting is Sugarcane.
We're going there on Wednesday with our both teams. So the team from there's a team from Buy Blacks and there's a team from Convo. We're doing a restaurant takeover. We're taking over this. We're taking
Wonderful.
over.
What is up broadcast wise for the rest of the week?
Say that again.
What is up broadcast wise for the rest of the week? We have more conversations
We have
coming.
more conversations. So we have a conversation tomorrow evening with one of the participating restaurants from Vancouver. So that's going to be an IG takeover. On Wednesday morning, I believe you are speaking with the Wraps and the Caribbean Slice, the new
Yes.
Caribbean pizza place. I have to go and check that out.
Yes.
And then on Thursday, we are going to do another IG takeover with one of the other restaurants from the Vancouver location that are participating. And through there's a lot of influencers working with different brands. So there is How She Hustles, there is Eat Famous, and Ernest White, the third.
Yes.
The third or
The second. The second.
It's the second, yeah. So he's
In
doing
Vancouver.
the coverage in Vancouver. And then Sharis Maggie, she covered Sugarcane.
There you
So
go.
we're looking forward to seeing what she thought and her perspective on the food there. So yeah, it's awesome.
All right. So you're going to get tired of us, but it's a good tired. Now, most important thing, go to the website address that's scrolling at the bottom. So scrolling all conversation. You have no excuse to say, oh, which restaurants are participating? It's been in front of your face for an hour and 18 minutes.
So just go there, audience, select there's a button that says click here to view the participating restaurant.
You know what? Why don't I?
Please go out and support them. Go and take a large group of people and go and support a Black-owned restaurant. They need us.
Absolutely. And just when you go to the website, this is what it's going to look like. There's the website there. So that's
scroll down and then click on that first button there that says view participating restaurants. There you go. And it's been updated. I just got a message that said that some other restaurant wanted to participate. So they're coming on board kind of late, but we welcome them with open arms.
So the thing is, when you click on that button, then it will take you to this page where you're going to, yes, I think.
It's a full list of restaurants, 24 right now.
And clear that out. So you should be looking at it. There's the restaurants: Afrolicious, Buchan,
I love Buchan.
Caribbean Flavor, Caribbean Jerk Drum, Caribbean Spice, Chickpeas and Veg.
One of my favorite vegetarian. Cuisine by Noel. I've hired him to cater as well. His food is awesome. Ellis Kitchen I haven't had in a while. I haven't been back to Hamilton. Eat and Chill Spot is a new restaurant. Famous jerk and barbecue. I haven't tried them yet.
Barbecue Haven,
I tried
Mississauga,
them. They're good.
Just Convenience Jerk Stop,
Love the jerk chicken there.
Lot 25, Rap's
Wraps.
Restaurant, Scott Hill,
Scott Hill
Sh-
steamed fish is great. Sugar cane,
Sugar
we're gonna go
Cane,
back again. Jerk box,
the,
I
uh,
have to try jerk box.
the Juice Kitchen.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hey, I'm headed over to Hamilton, man. Tommy's jerk. We're headed to BC soon. Whenever I get to BC, I'm trying all four on the list.
Here
The
we go,
Lock Tommy's
Tommy's
jerk.
Jerk. So, family, we've shown you what you have to do. You know what you got to do now?
I
You
gotta
got to
do
go
it.
do it. So, again, thanks everyone for watching live on the replay. Appreciate it, not taken for granted. We'll catch you out throughout the week. And hey, if you like what you're tasting, tell them, go on their Instagram, go on their website, give
Absolutely.
them your commentary. Even better, if you do Instagram live, experience that food tasting. Like the first time I did this with Roger, I said, no one's going to be interested in watching me eat food. My goodness. I didn't realize I was enjoying food, and all the rest said, oh, that was fantastic. And actually, the point where I came on another time, people said, oh, I got my food ready. So it's almost like dueling. He said, Dr. Vibe, you're coming out with something, I'm going to come out with something to eat. So look, so family, take care of yourselves, be safe. As we always say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace, and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We'll see you on the road. Take care, everyone. God bless.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.